have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the new world order. You feel it? True world order. And we will. True world order. Are you ready? True world order. We draw reality everywhere. True world order. True world order.
I want to find out what's going on with him.
What's going on, guys? How we doing, Drew?
What's up, guys?
How we doing, Red?
Sorry,
hello,
how are you guys doing?
Hey, everybody. How are you? Welcome back, everybody.
I wanted to actually talk to the professor. We got a lot to get to today. I wanted to pick up where we left off last week, but there's a couple of things that we just kind of clear the air on real quick. I talked to the professor last week. I sent him a message, and I asked him to just help me with an intro. I've been using that one intro, but I've been kind of playing around, and all I wanted him to do was say, "This is the professor. You're listening to the Drew World Order." Simple. I said, give me 2 or 3. I'm trying to put something together.
Right.
So he sends me back these long, rambling messages, right? All pissed off. All pissed off. Why is it the Drew World Order? The professor. I want to call it the diaper. I pulled a clip or two.
Right.
Let me see. What do we got here?
That's funny.
And he sent me like hours worth. Here's a little clip of Professor.
Welcome. What you are about to listen to has been described by Nightline. Why the fuck are we naming it the Drew World Order? Drew's been doing this for, not very long, under 10 episodes. Long story short, it should be called Topple That Couple, alright? I should be the fucking host, and we should be having, Mr. Drew. So, you know what? Have fun. There's your podcast. Have a good day. Thank you, and come again. Shut up, Drew.
You're
Mr.
Drew. Now, Professor, look, we're all part of the show. It's Drew named the show. He kind of started it. Now, are you just messing around with me? Because you sounded real angry. And then, last week when we were on vacation, he put out a couple of his own shows, which was great. I mean, it was wild stuff.
I didn't hear any of
them. And the professor did a whole show of prank phone calls and stuff. I think he wants to be like his own Howard Stern. I don't know if he's leaving the show, if he wants to go. He wants it to be called the Professor Show. So what's the deal, Professor?
Well, we sent it to some test audiences, and it turns out that the Professor Guantavius D. History of Accounting, PhD, World Order just does not ring a good show title. So
right.
I am here for many years, and it would be very bad if I were to leave. And Mr. Drew understands that, and he will.
You know what it reminds me of, Red? He's like Jackie. The professor's like Jackie Jokeman.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He wants all the credit. He gets all pissed off.
Yeah.
Why is it the Howard Stern Show? I should get more money because the Jews run the world.
Exactly.
Well, I did. I made a deal with him. I said,
"No, I
can do my own show. I'm gonna punch up scripts."
That's funny.
I told him he could only do bonus content. He couldn't actually record an episode, but whatever he did record, he had to do for bonus content.
Yeah, but I did take one of his. I sent him another one of Red's beats, and I had him do a song. I was thinking about using maybe this for an intro. I was thinking about using it today, but I wanted to run it by you guys first and see what you thought. Let me play this.
Knowledge for you from Mr. Drew. Knowledge for you from Mr. Drew. Mr. Drew brings some knowledge for you with Nico and Red and the Professor and Herbert Walker Bush and Ted Apple, Nixon, Yoda, and a lot of other.
I like this one. I heard this the other day.
Knowledge for you from Mr. Drew. Okay, fine. Let's just fucking start. You're tuned to, I don't know, the Drew World Order. What a clever name. Drew World Order.
What do you think of that for an intro? I have the long version of that song, and maybe I'll play it at the end for people that want to hear it, because the professor's such a beautiful singer. But I put that one together maybe just to use for an intro, and I put that little clip at the end. So
what do they call when a record goes double platinum or triple platinum? Do you guys know?
Triple platinum, I guess. I don't know. What the hell comes after platinum?
Yeah.
Well, he's going to break the records with that fucking thing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right?
And he did a whole...
That's funny.
A whole show of prank phone calls. I think I had someone... What is this one? Is this fruit salad? Is this Professor? Let me see.
Oh, yeah. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, my God, I'm doing all right. Listen, I got a little bit of a concern. My boy Raymond was up in there last week, and somebody called him a fruit salad. I came home, my wife was awful pissed off. I just figured I'd go up here and see what was going on.
He was called a what?
A fruit salad?
I have not heard anything about that. I just got here. You can call the director. He'll be here on Monday, or you can shoot him an email.
All right, I appreciate it. I'll be calling back there tomorrow, and, well, we'll get this figured out.
That sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry that happened. Okay, bye-bye.
That's all right. Bye, God.
That was Dr.
What? He was on your show.
Yes,
the special prank phone call show you did.
Yeah, he was here with my honey badger, and I made him make a prank phone call.
Yeah, Red does prank calls. We've actually been doing them since we were kids. Yeah. When we were kids, Red had a name. We used to call himself Mark Phillips usually when he did his prank phone calls. Yeah. And we used to make... I had a phone back in the day. You're probably not even old enough to remember these phones, Drew. But we had like those regular rotary phones with the big thing, and I would... with a big handle and a microphone and a speaker.
We used to
tear
them apart.
I would unscrew the speaker, take the phone apart, and then take an RCA jack, cut the wires, and I would twist them into the phone. And then I took that wire and I plugged it into my stereo system into a cassette deck, so that I could record the calls. So shit. Red would go in my mother's room to make the call, so that it was nice and quiet in there, because we would all laugh. He was like, "I'm better off doing it alone," and we would all sit in my room.
Yeah,
listening to the phone calls.
Stereo system.
Yeah, listening to the phone calls through the stereo system while I recorded them. Then we had all of these tapes full of phone calls, and then we would play them at like parties and like pass them out in high school, and everybody knew these fucking calls,
Yeah.
But I swear to God, I think if we were born at the right time, like during the early part of the internet,
Yep.
if we were in high school in like the 2000s, and
we would have been the Jerky Boys.
We would have been the Jerky Boys. I mean, we had tapes of our music and all of these bits we played and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And one of the calls Red had, one of his famous calls was he was a door-to-door dildo salesman. I wish I still had. And what he would do is he would call sales jobs, right? I'll tell you about this one call. It's one of my favorites. He calls for a sales job, and the guy's like, "Do you have any sales experience?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do, He's like, "But, I did door-to-door sales." And the guy's like, "Well, what'd you sell?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Well, it's kind of embarrassing, but don't worry about it. Trust me, I can sell." The guy's like, "Well, what is it?"
Yeah.
And he's, "Well..."
And I'm pushing him along, dude.
Yeah.
That was the key. I would keep you on the phone for the longest
time. And he had a knack of making people want and wait and beg for the punchline. So in other words, this guy's like, "Well, what did you sell? Tell me. Don't worry about it. Trust me, I can sell. It's embarrassing. I don't want to talk about it. Forget it." The guy'd be like, "Well, what is it?" And he'd finally be like, "All right. You want to know what I did?"
He'd be pushing along and he'd be talking to me, and then
I went door-to-door selling dildos, and the guy starts losing it, So anyway,
but actually,
Red did a call yesterday,
and still stay on the line.
Oh yeah, he would keep these people going forever, and they were always funny. So anyway, Red did a call yesterday, and it's kind of like a remake of the old dildo call. Not quite as great as that one, but I just wanted to set that up for you. But
hey, okay, so I have a few things that I was just going to... Have you ever heard of Carlos Castaneda?
Carlos Castaneda? No.
Is he a gangster?
Sounds like a gangster.
He wrote all those Don Juan Mattis books in the 60s. I think we talked about this a little bit. I was just going to read a quote. We were talking about the Sumerians, the Anunnaki, Enki, Enlil, the Nephilim. the secret invaders some several 100,000 years ago. This is from the Carlos Castaneda book. I can't remember which one it is. It's from The Active Side of Infinity. This is what this shaman says to to Carlos Castaneda, the author, who was a Cal Berkeley student. We have a predator that came from the depths of the cosmos and took over the rule of our lives. Human beings are its prisoners. The predator is our lord and master. It has rendered us docile, helpless. If we want to protest, it suppresses our protest. If we want to act independently, it demands that we don't do so. They took over because we are food for them. They squeeze us mercilessly because we are their sustenance. Just as we rear chickens in a chicken coop, the predators rear us in human coops. Their food is always available to them. He is literally saying that these entities fed off of low vibrational like emotions and feelings. I mean, so you talk about connecting the dots. This guy was a Central American shaman in the 60s, and he's saying the same thing that the Nag Hammadi texts say. He's saying the same thing that the Sumerian tablets talk about. I mean,
now you're saying the 60s, but you mean not 1960?
Yes, 1960.
Yeah, saying he wrote that in the 60s.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, what's interesting that you say that. Now, so what he's basically saying is that we are like their food for them.
Yeah.
Because one of the questions I had, and I always say that I want to know what the motivation is and stuff. And I was thinking about, okay, we were created as slaves, okay, originally in order to mine the gold and all of that stuff. Do we still have a purpose? Are we still under their control? And if so, what is it? Or are we just an alien ant farm and they're just fucking watching us grow?
Okay, here's where this gets interesting. And I took a little bit of a sidebar away from the tablets, as I think that there are other things that are important here. The R complex. You guys know what the R complex is?
No.
I never heard of
Have you ever heard of your reptilian brain?
Well, I've heard of reptilians.
Yeah.
Yes. Every human has a part of their brain. It's called the reptilian brain. It's called the R complex. It's the oldest part of the brain. It's one of the first parts of the brain that forms. Here's what's responsible. Here's what your reptilian brain is responsible for. Movement, digestion, circulation, breathing, fight or flight. Fight or flight. That is very important to remember. Your freeze response. It can be rigid, it can be obsessive, compulsive, ritualistic, and paranoid. Your reptilian brain is what happens, it's what kicks in when you are threatened, you feel the need to fight or flight. Some of the moods or characteristics of your reptilian brain: negative mood, overwhelmed, ineffective, argumentative, blaming, rigid, insists that I'm right, personalizes reaction, greed, cold calculation, lack of empathy. Oh, sorry.
It sounded like most of those things at the beginning were, I don't know, what you would call your natural instinctual part of the brain. Mm-hmm. Until you got to the end part with the empathy, your lack of empathy. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like a lot of those things were something that everybody has, but not everybody has that lack of empathy. Well, I guess everybody does sometimes in certain situations.
If Zecharia Sitchin and some of these other people that have described or transcribed these tablets say that they manipulated genetics and kind of formed a hybrid blood race to represent the gods on Earth as humans, but were hybrids who had the ability to appear as either human or in what most people say the serpent form, reptilian. Because remember, the world we live in is not solid base world. Atoms are 99.99999% empty. And right. So basically, when they say shape-shifting, they're not shifting from one solid body to another. It's all in the eye of us, the decoder. The decoder is picking up a new frequency that is now coming through in the form of manifestation and projection, which makes them look like a reptilian.
So you say the decoder, so it's the person who's seeing it.
Yes.
I mean, we're only seeing whatever our brain interprets.
The world to us, to all three of us.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that we just can't see.
Yeah. What the electromagnetic spectrum is 0.005% of. We see we are blind in the.
Yeah, we're completely blind.
Why can't we see it though? What is that stops us from seeing it?
Our eyes only pick up certain light and certain things. You don't see radio waves, right?
Yeah,
you don't see X-rays.
Right, exactly.
You don't see. There is stuff all over the place that we don't see. And anything that even what you see, it's just your brain's interpretation. So there could be, one brain theoretically could work different than another, and somebody could see things that somebody else's brain couldn't. It's just like somebody being colorblind.
Exactly.
Colorblind people, it always blows my mind. I talked to one person, and he says, when I see green, when that's green, I see blue. And I'm like, well, how the fuck do we even know what green is then? Well, no, because I don't know. That whole thing confuses me. Not to get off on a tangent, but remember, everything is just your interpretation.
Yep. And all that interpretation, that perception, that awareness, everything, the world exists at the back of our rods and cones in a little 2-centimeter spot. That we are literally walking around in our own heads. The world, when we say the world's out there, the world is not out there. The vibrations are all out there. We are decoding it, and the world literally is projected from the back of our brain. That's where we live.
It's like the Matrix.
Dude, in Matrix, they put that in the back of the head, too. That's crazy. So, just that it's so important to remember that lack of apathy when it comes to the reptilian brain. You look at the world, you look at the cold calculation, the greed. The people that run the world have genetically been altered or engineered. They do not have the ability for empathy. That's why the world is the way it is. That's how you can kill 5 kids in collateral damage to get 1 member of ISIS.
Okay, so you're saying reptilians don't have the ability for empathy.
They have no nurture
and
nature.
Let me ask a couple questions here. I want to review, according to the Zachariah Sitchin and all, we were created as this hybrid race. I was under the impression that all humans came from that same thing. In other words, we all are hybrids, but yet it seems like you're saying that only some of us have this reptilian gene. And there was also different groups that came here. So, but everyone's traced back to that one Africa. And I also want to say, okay, Samaria is where they wrote the stories they're looking for the gold. But the gold mining was in Africa. There was also more than one species. So I just want you to clarify now.
Okay.
Because it's a little bit confusing.
It is.
So we are not all tied back to that same alien race. There's 2 separate races, and some of them are reptilian.
So, well, you could also talk about the human beings. You could talk about the Star Children. You could talk about the bloodline. The Queen of England, the House of Windsor.
Break it down, if you can, as simply as we can, the different races and the origin that we know of.
After the flood, the human beings exist. Whatever human beings were left after the Anunnaki left, they also leave a different, like a hybrid blood race that will control the human beings, the human population on their behalf.
Those were the ones that were not on Earth.
Or they were either on Earth. Some of them didn't come to Earth, but either they were on Earth or they left. But they did leave. When they left their genetic imprint on the planet. And they left these people with the ability to have the ability. They basically left the bloodline. And if you're not a part of the bloodline, then you do not have the same frequency or synchronization to be able to tap into that consciousness that represents the Anunnaki or the reptilians, the Archons.
Right. What was their planet?
Well, a lot of people say they come from Alpha Draconis. Sirius is another constellation.
Sirius they talk about a lot.
Orion, the Orion constellation.
Yeah.
Man, who knows, man? There's so many, the universe is infinite. We have no fucking idea how many species and all that other shit is out there. And
I mean, if they are interstellar and they're traveling here, they could have places in all different regions anyway. So really, to look at my thing that I always want to clarify is it because I know there's more than one species. So some people are reptilian. But all humans now were created from the gods, or you're saying some humans, a different set of gods, because there's more than one set of gods, or were some people just not from the gods at all?
Some people, we all derive from what the clay the clay molding that they talk about, Enki and Enlil, like those two, according to the Sumerian tablets, created humanity. Right. But then there was the flood.
What is that clay? What does that clay molding represent?
But that humanity, that version of humanity, is just like those peasant race, you know. Okay. Then they did it again to manipulate humanity to be that of a higher blood stock, and to be of royal blood. And those people, the bloodline of that of those choosing. So
created by the same people, but just created two separate lines.
Yeah, you and I don't have the same DNA or compatibility with the Archon consciousness. Remember how I said their personality could take form for they could just funnel their consciousness into a new body? You and I would not be we would not synchronize to that because we do not have that same DNA compatibility. That's how they're able to. That's what they do. That's why they have these like huge. That's why they're looking for their bloodline. Bill Clinton, there's a lot of evidence to suggest Bill Clinton is a Rockefeller. He is, I mean, you could look, that's very, very crazy. When you start looking at that shit, like he could be very well a Rockefeller. They say that Abraham Lincoln was a Rothschild.
I don't think every president is part of this bloodline. I mean, because if you look at the history of them, a lot of them came from very poor upbringings or whatever, and just... but then again, you know, the presidents don't really control everything anyway. Some of them might, but I don't think all presidents are part of this bloodline at all.
Did you know that Bill Clinton met JFK when he was a boy?
Oh, yeah?
Did he?
No.
Dude, the more I look into this, and I'd have to pull some stuff for you, but I think that they are. I think they're selected from a very young age, and I think they're groomed for it. And some people, Andrew Basiago of Project Pegasus, says that he informed Barack Obama of his destiny when Barack Obama was a young boy. He went back in time using Project Pegasus to inform a future president of his destiny. You start to get that shit, it's just, what the fuck?
So now you think that Trump would... You think that Trump would be of this special bloodline?
Have you never... Dude, you haven't heard of the Baron Trump books that were written 100 years ago?
Trump has a special bloodline, yeah, absolutely.
The what was that book?
The Baron Trump books. I'm looking these up right now. They were
that's
written
his,
like 100...
That's his son, Baron, right?
Yeah, this guy wrote these books about Baron Trump like 100-some years ago. Let me look this up real quick. Yeah, here they are. Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey. And it's a picture of a little kid. It's by a dude named Ingersoll Lockwood. Baron Trump's Marvelous... He wrote these books about this kid named Baron Trump who was a... it's freaky as fuck. Like, how the fuck did this guy know that? You know?
Now, these books were written when?
The early 20th century.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
1889.
Yeah. That little kid might turn out to be the Antichrist.
Yeah, you guys might go look into that. We'll talk about that next week.
He kind of looks like the kid from that movie. What was that? Damien, right? Remember the Damien?
Yeah. The Omen.
Yeah, the Omen, right.
Yeah.
He kind of looks like Damien.
He does.
Yeah, there's something about him, like, you know.
Okay, so that's one thing. The R complex, the monoatomic gold. Why were they after gold? We talked about they were trying to possibly as a superconductor of some sort. Did you know that?
And its reflective properties in order to.
Have you ever researched what monoatomic gold does to your DNA? It basically activates. Well, no, it supercharges it. It brings strands of DNA to life that would not ordinarily do that. So when you ingest monoatomic gold, your body, your consciousness, your being, you become a superconductor. And that's another thing to keep in mind too. The white powder gold, the alchemy. They were after it for a number of reasons, and a lot of researchers indicate that they were eating this and ingesting it to maintain their god status.
We have to take a quick 2-second break, and then we're going to pick it up right here.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes. This is WBBC Solidified. Good afternoon. How you doing?
This is who?
WBBC Solidified. We're a radio station out of Myrtle Beach. Small radio station. How are you?
I'm okay. What's going on?
No, nothing. You must have put your name in, and you actually won. Did you go to the fair or something, or?
Yeah, I went to a fair.
Okay.
A while ago.
Yeah, a while ago. Well, you must have put your name in. You won. It's basically there's three prizes. Well, it's three sizes really. I'm calling to find out what size you want. I guess. Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember what it was. I buy cards and stuff all the time.
Okay, because you probably checked like the sex box or something on it or whatever. So you want a dildo.
That's cool.
Yeah, you want a dildo, but we're just gonna need the size that you'd want and where to send it. Hello, are you there? Sir, I just need the size and an address so I could send a dildo to you. I mean, maybe it was something your wife filled out. Hello? Hello?
Is it September? The day I'll always remember. 'Cause that was the day that my diaper came off. I never got a chance to thank it. Never heard nothing but weird sounds emanating from it. Mama, I'm depending on you. Tell me the truth. Mama just hung her head and said, son, your papa was a diaper. That's right. Wherever he laid his diaper was his home. All he left just was alone. Oh, here we go, baby. Here we go. My bubbles are rolling slow. Well, the feeling has
Welcome back. This is former President George Herbert Walker Bush. Barbara and I wanted to thank you. Drew got pot in the face from the professor, and he's cleaning his shorts, but don't listen to these boys talk about their conspiracies and their comedy, and, well, Danny Quayle, Colin Powell, Operation Storm and Norman, thank you.
Here we are. We're back on the show. Are you ready?
Baron Trump. Okay, so yeah, what was I telling you guys on the break? In this book written in it's fucking 1800 sometime, Little Baron Trump, in the book entitled Marvelous Underground Journey, he's got a fucking mentor in this book that was authored over 120 years ago, and Little Baron Trump's mentor in the fucking movie, in the book, is fucking Don, some dude named Don Thumb.
That's crazy.
That is fucking nuts.
Don Jr.
Remember, Little Baron, the motto of the Trumps, per Ardua ad Astra. I don't know what the fuck that means, but that is fucking nuts and creepy. Oh, hey! I found one more thing on the Don Juan Mattis.
The Book of Baron is what? What year is this book?
1889. And Red, I don't know if you heard me say this, but this guy also wrote a book, a sequel to this book, a direct sequel, whether it be the next one or the following book, was called The Last President.
That's insane, bro.
It featured Baron Trump as the fucking last
It's actually
president.
giving me chills, like you said.
Yeah, it's creepy.
It is. Like, how...
So what was there back to with the creation list? Are there any other creation stories from other similar?
Dude,
you know of?
Well, isn't the Muslim or the Islamic story of creation is like tit for tat, the same thing? The jinn, the demons in the Nation of Islam faith, they tell the same fucking story of the serpent race coming down. It's the same fucking thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's strange that you do see these similar stories. They always seem to have different names, though. And I don't know how they have that same story, but for some reason they have different names. Maybe it's just lost in translation over the years.
They
in
name
language.
their people in it.
Yeah, but they could be talking about people that sound very, very similar, and you could say, well, this would be that person, this would be that person. But they always have different names.
Yeah.
And what about Adam and Eve? Now, we know a lot of the Bible stories basically came from the Sumerian text. Is there any mention or anything that would translate into the Adam and Eve story?
Yeah. I mean, the Bible, the King James Version has, 31,000 translation errors, but the Bible, there's some, like, symbolism I don't think it's a literal interpretation, but
No.
Like the Anunnaki, these reptilian fucks, the people that run the world, like they love to tell us what they're going to do or what they have done. They love to give us the truth while it being coded. The Bible has a lot of symbolism and themes that seem to be spot on. Like Adam and Eve, isn't Adam and Eve, he's the first man, and from the rib of Adam, they create Eve, right?
Right.
Yeah, so basically, like they took DNA of Adam to create Eve. Then you have the lure of the serpent, which is
always the serpent.
Yeah,
or
serpent,
the reptile.
everything. You know, dude, the apple. You know what the Apple logo? You know what it is? It's the apple with a bite taken out of it. Isn't that crazy?
Right.
It's the original sin. Their logo is literally stands for the original sin.
Right. Now, Drew, do you have an Apple phone? No, right?
I do not.
I didn't think so.
And the Beatles had Apple Records.
Yes.
No shit.
Yeah.
Dude, that's fucking nuts.
You know, sometimes you were talking before about how, you know, some people can see certain things and, you know, and only some people would be able to see that reptile. Sometimes when I'm looking at Red, I see horns.
Right. No, you will see them, yeah.
Like, I see them now. Then that's why I know he's an asshole, you know, because I see when he's, and I know when he's being an asshole, I see horns and nobody else sees them. And I've seen this all my life, but I've always been afraid to say something. You can't see that right now?
I see it, yeah. I
See
dare
him?
God,
Yeah.
son, put those horns away. Okay, so, dude, I don't know about, okay, when I first started getting into this shit, especially after like a really, if I were to take some psychedelics or something like that, I'd be watching the news and I'd be seeing people in the crowd that did not appear as everybody else did. I don't, you guys can do this. If you like let your eyes just defocus and stare at something long enough, it has to be a person usually, you can start to see their aura and like their magnetic field. Hunter S. Thompson, you guys know who Hunter S. Thompson is, right?
Yes.
Dude, Hunter S. Thompson talks
Who is
about
it? Who is that? Who
he's
is
the
it?
famous the doctor
writer.
of journalism, wrote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Dude, he talks about after taking LSD to the extent of breaking his realm of reality, he saw the reptilians. Dude, he talks about them in his books. He says, I was in the middle of a goddamn reptile zoo. You know?
Yeah, it seems that a lot of times when people take these strong hallucinogens, and you hit a lot with DMT, where they all seem to see the same thing or very, very similar things.
There's no, like, that's not a coincidence. I wouldn't say so. Would you?
No, it just, why would you always, people from all over different cultures and different places, you know, just automatically have those same experiences when they take these chemicals, which seems to maybe open up these chemical pathways in your bodies that allow us to see certain things that you can't see without them.
And dude, I was looking at this thing last night. I'm trying to find this answer. You have different cultures and civilizations hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago that portray the aliens or the gods in the exact same manner, you know, spanning the continent, like people that never interacted with each other at all. And they literally in their tablets, their artifacts portray these entities in the exact same depiction. It's just
like the UFOs and stuff too, you know. You see those old pictures and, you know, even like carvings and people from all different cultures all over the place. They always describe these lights in the sky and these certain flat things, you know.
Nico, you talked a little bit about the Bible. I have one short little, I guess, note on that. So Christmas Day, the winter solstice in December 25th. The word solstice derives from the Latin solstice, meaning sun standing still. Because at the solstices, the sun stands still in declination. That is seasonal movement of the sun's path. Basically, the 25th is not the day that Jesus was reborn. They're talking about the sun in the sky.
Jesus was not born on Christmas at all. They just, from my understanding, is they actually don't know when Jesus was born at all. They think it was sometime in the spring, but it was a pagan holiday, and they were trying to bring the pagans into Christianity. The pagans had a crazy holiday. They would do all kinds of crazy shit on Christmas. They were not going to let that holiday go. So what the Christians or the Catholics did was they kind of took their holiday and they says, well, we're going to celebrate, the birth of Jesus on that day. And that's how Christmas became in December, when they believe it was sometime in the spring, but they don't know an exact date.
Here, the period when the sun stands still was perceived as 3 days, also said to be the time when the solar healer was in the tomb or to be reborn or resurrected. The 3-day solstical period typically began at midnight on December 21st and ended at midnight on December 24th, when the sun stopped standing still and began moving again, basically reborn up into the sky. Dude, that blows my mind.
Yeah, so that's why they used it for Jesus' birthday or the day he was reborn, or
and the very next
whatever the hell it is
here,
that
dude,
we celebrate on Christmas.
The 3 stars,
but it wasn't the actual date at all.
No. And then they talk about Orion and the star Sirius and how that factors into what they were worshiping. Like that's what we were just talking about in the Sumerian tablets,
Right, Orion. That's what the pyramids and all of them. They were big into Orion, right?
Yep. They're on what they're lined up to Orion, Sirius, and what's the third one? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And they
it's
show how
pretty
those pyramids
wild.
line up just like them.
Shit.
Yeah, I mean, that's
how
why
it
we
all
always
correlates with each other.
Everything connects. Like there's just, you can't talk about the banking without everything connects. And then you talk about numerology, the shootings this week. I've been sending you stuff, Nico. The shootings, there's some weird. That Dayton, Ohio shooting has an obituary in the newspaper from 2014 where he and his sister were both killed. How the fuck is this guy carrying out mass shootings when he was declared dead 5 years ago?
Wait, that's it. You were sending me a bunch of stuff. You sent me one thing. It was a Twitter link, I believe, with a video of a woman saying that there was 2 different shooters.
Yep, there's multiple videos.
And then you sent me a couple other things. I was going to ask you about that in the next segment.
Sorry,
but no, that's all right. You know what? I tell you what. Let's wrap it up with the creation stuff for now.
Okay.
All right. We're going to take a 3-second break, and then we're going to roll into the more current event stuff. That last segment, we're going to talk a little bit about We're going to talk a little bit about the shooting. All right, in the news, I have a little thing I want to talk about the election. We'll talk about that, and I'm going to play a song that is going to fit with our election segment coming up next.
Making money on a boat. Making money, let them swim on a boat. Gotta vote. What's my name? Sugar Gang. Gotta vote on a boat. Make them swim.
Yeah, that's one of Red's new songs. His buddy kicks in and raps at the end, but what I'll do, so you guys can hear the whole thing, I'll play the whole song at the end. It gets really good.
I'm telling you, Red, I don't like rap music,
break
but
it too
dude,
long.
you are fucking talented, man.
Dude, well, I don't either, dude. Rap is not even, it's not something I listen to.
You are fucking good.
He's got another song. I wasn't going to do this now, but we might have to. Now, just bear with me on this one, and don't talk over it too much. I might a little bit. Red has all different kinds of styles. He's not just a rapper. This guy does... He does Spanish music. And...
As kids, me, Nick, all our buddies, we used to play in a band. We were hardcore rock and roll. We were trying to be like Zeppelin. We were trying to be like that or Spyro Gyra, which was a jazz band, which was like a jazz fusion.
Can you hear this in the background? It's a little low.
Oh,
right?
yeah, this is sick, this song. I sent this to Drew.
I want you to just sit and listen to this guy. This now is more almost into like a Jim Morrison style, Okay.
Nick, this is for the New True World Order. Listen to this.
Yeah, you gotta give this a minute. Now, eventually, when this guy screams, he has one of the greatest rock and roll screams in history. It reminds me of the Wig song.
Yeah, you remember the Wig?
This. Now, do you ever listen to the Doors show back in the day?
Yeah.
Right. Now, imagine you're at a Doors concert. Right?
It reminds me of The End. That song, The End.
Okay. Yeah. Now, imagine. Yeah, it's 1964. All right. Yeah, it's fucking tripping on acid. Okay. You're in the audience, and Jim's over there. He's got his shirt off. He's taking. He's taking a swig of vodka right now. You know, he's vomiting, throwing up. Because this is what he would do. He's passed out on the floor right now, and there's like, so the band is just playing this, and they're waiting for Jim.
Wake
there
up!
we go. Jim gets up.
The fire's burning.
Listen.
Wake up! The water's boiling. And then it's sick, bro. And it's sad. The rain is singing.
Did you hear that?
It's so sick.
Now,
right?
When you
What's that?
Wake up! Now, what I do to make me really laugh is I try to picture, when I listen to this, I close my eyes and I try to picture this kid in his garage. He's doing this. It's probably like 1 o'clock in the morning.
No.
This shit's cranking, But this is how I imagine it. And it's cranking,
Right when you got it,
the kids are sleeping. I know, but I'm telling you how I imagine it. Because I was at his house one night, and it was like 12 o'clock at night, and he had the music blaring with the garage door open. I'm like, the neighbors must be losing it right now. But I picture like the kids in the kitchen, maybe they have their friends over, and all of a sudden they hear, "Wake up!" And they're like, "Yeah, that's my dad. He's Jim Morrison."
Yeah. He's in the garage. Yeah. No, actually, dude, that was like this Sunday afternoon.
Right,
I'm in the Bible Belt, Nick. This is after church.
Yeah. The neighbors are outside smoking.
People are mowing the lawn, and I'm in the garage doing it. Matter of fact,
and all of a sudden I hear that.
Yeah. I'm proud of it.
The neighbors must lose their fucking minds to you. All right. Current event. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about the election, and mainly because I want to make a prediction, and I wanted to get it on tape. This fucking election, we know that they're trying to do all these election security bills. McConnell won't even bring them to a vote. That's not going to happen. They will not let us protect the election. We got 14 states where there is no paper backup.
Right.
Okay, so if these things get hacked, all right, we already know that Russia has hacked into all 50 states have been hacked. They didn't change any votes, supposedly, but we don't really know. Now you got China. China wants Trump fucking out of there. Russia wants Trump to win. Basically, this election comes down to Russia versus China. Now, I don't think the Asians are good hackers. They could hack, but I don't think they want to hack the election because they know then it's going to be challenged and it's going to be, all kinds of drama and Trump won't leave. So they don't do that. They don't want to do that. What they're going to want to do is this is my prediction, and I want to see from it. They're going to try and crash our economy because they want Trump out. They're already starting to fuck with it a little bit right now. Now, if Trump loses, and I'm not saying Trump is going to lose because right now it's a fucking coin to us.
You don't know.
But if Trump loses, okay, he is not going to accept this election. He is going to challenge it.
He's going to shoot the balls off it. He's not leaving. He's going to say.
He's not leaving.
He's going to say.
We were hacked. We were hacked. We were hacked.
And this is why 39,000 lawsuits out against everybody, and he's not leaving his shit.
And this is why McConnell is not allowed to make people do paper backups.
Right.
It's going to be a fucking disaster on the horizon.
You know what? No, he's president. He's going to. Nick, you just hit. I said it to the wife the other night. Exactly what you just said. If he loses,
there's no way he's walking out without a fight.
There's no way he's going to say that's fucked up. The ballots are fucked up in every state. This state I know for sure he's going to come up with evidence. He's not walking out.
The House has passed a bill requiring paper backups in every state. There's 14 states. I don't even know which ones they are. But if any of those states are ones that Trump loses, he's just going to friggin' challenge him.
Yep.
So this is my prediction. And it's going to be a fucking disaster. The other thing I wanted to ask is, this just came to my mind. Do you know why we vote on Tuesdays?
No, why?
I was thinking about this the other day, and I'm like, first of all, the big problem is that a lot of people don't vote. If we had a higher turnout, things would be different. I always notice that, like, for me over here, it's real easy to vote. I go around the corner, it takes me 30 seconds, Yeah. But whenever it's like election night and you put on the news, whenever it's in like a poor community or something like that,
they have it far
there's
away.
There's far away, and there's people online for like 3 hours, 4 hours. You see them, and I'm like, I don't know. I run around the corner during commercials. It takes me 2 seconds to vote. You know, I walk in, I walk out. So I Googled it, and I'm saying to myself, I'm like, why do we have election on Tuesday? It's the worst day. People work all day. And why do we have to do it in one day? Shouldn't we have it be like Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday?
Yeah, well,
like,
you
why
can definitely get your
Why
vote
is it that we only have basically, I mean, people work.
Yeah.
Basically, you got about 6 hours and you got to stand on line for 3 hours. Doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, and if you want a fair vote, why wouldn't you let that happen?
The reason goes all the way back to like the friggin' 1800s. Okay, they did it in November because most people were farmers, and November was like kind of like their off season. And November makes sense because you give yourself, you know, November. If you want to transition in January, it gives you 2 months to transition. That's fine. But they did it on a Tuesday because everybody had to go to church on Sunday, and then they didn't even have cars yet. So it would take people about a day to travel to the place to vote. And then they would vote on Tuesday, and then they could travel all the way back.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely no reason. Like, it's just this stupid tradition that we have. When we have all day Sunday when people are off to vote.
Yep.
But no, we don't really want people to vote. So we're going to squeeze it in on a fucking Tuesday. You got 3 hours. And the entire election, like, these elections are so goddamn close.
Yeah.
Right. It comes down to what? Michigan and Pennsylvania and all this, right? If there's a fucking snowstorm on that Tuesday,
that's it.
That could determine our president.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right.
If it's rainy and snowy, turnout's going to be down.
What is the turnout anyways? It's like 37% too. Like the presidential elections only get like 37% turnout.
Yeah, somewhere around 30-something% of eligible people.
30% of eligible voters.
Well, if you gave people a little bit more time, you know, you might get that up a little bit.
What were you saying? I'm sorry.
I was saying, no, it's all right. I heard horror shows out here where, you know, people would get bussed in. They were getting bussed to the voting spot. And then all of a sudden they would say, oh, no. When you got there, they would say, oh, sorry, water up. They changed the mapping of it, you know, Nick?
Yeah, they move them and
shit. Right? And so they fucked the people, and now they're like 60 miles out of the way.
Gerrymandering.
And the new place is the other way, 60 miles. They don't make it.
Yeah, they do not want poor people to vote. In poor communities and cities, they make it really, really hard.
But they'll reform the tax code to make sure that they still get their fucking 35%. You know, they'll reform the parasite programs, but they won't reform that stuff.
Yep.
And did you know you can get your taxes done for free?
Yeah.
By who? The government, right? Yeah.
It was on the news. I think they might have just repealed this law, but it was a law that like nobody knew about. If you make like, I think it was like $60,000 a year. If you earned like less than $60,000 a year, you could go to one of those companies, get your taxes done, and the government would pay for it.
Is that right?
But they didn't tell anybody.
Right.
So only about 0.01% of the eligible people actually used it.
There isn't the 16th Amendment, the income tax amendment that was never ratified by some of the states. So a lot of people say it's not really fucking lawful. That's why you have Wesley Snipes and some of these other people walking around like, I ain't paying you $7.7 million in taxes. Like, oh God, that's
a big.
A lot of people say that's the libertarian. The libertarian taxes theft. You know. Yeah. Well, good luck with that.
Anyways,
you don't want to pay tax. Don't use the fucking roads.
Yeah.
That's what I say.
If you want to use the roads, we got some fantastic roads here in Kansas for you. We pull money from education and we put it into the roads here because we want you guys to have a pleasant experience while you're driving through.
You guys got some nice country roads,
Oh, dude,
right?
we have like the second or third best roads in all of the state or all of America.
Oh,
yeah,
right?
dude, our road system is phenomenal.
Well, here in New York, we have the 2 worst roads in the entire country. And I know what number 1 is. It's the Cross Bronx is number 1. And I'm drawing a blank on number 2 because I have this thing. I hate the Cross Bronx so much.
Might be the belt.
That I actually Googled it one time and I knew it, man. It's the fucking Cross Bronx takes it.
Yep.
You can never get through that road without being in traffic.
Shit.
It's a goddamn disaster.
Dude, I can't even imagine. I live in, lower Kansas City. I would shit my fucking brick have it like being in New York. I'd be like, oh, please help. I'm from out of town.
All right, we only have 10 minutes on the thing already again, and I don't want the cuss to go so long. So let's pick up with the we wanted to talk about the shooting in El Paso. So what were those videos you were sending me?
I think like there was 2 or 3 of those videos. One was a girl, and I think the other video was her mom. But there's multiple eyewitnesses on camera that say, we saw 4 men run in all black, wearing all black, and began firing. And none of those 4 men looked like the dude that they apprehended in El Paso.
Right.
The other crazy thing is, Nico, I don't know if you looked at this photo, but the fucking pants he has on in the CCTV footage do not match the same. Those are not the same fucking pants as the dude who... that guy had slacks on outside.
He had different pants on. I noticed
and
that.
And as a Photoshop expert, like that fucking photo they showed him walking in and then turning to the left, like I work with Photoshop, as you guys know, like that just looks really, really fucking suspicious.
What is the motivation here? What are they trying to pull? There's only 1 or 2 people. I don't know if this is real, saying that there was 4 shooters, a million other people saying
What is the motivation? Like,
all right, this is what I think. They are like, oh shit, people are getting wise to the Jeffrey Epstein thing and all this sex stings and this pedophile that happens to be up in higher levels of these elite. So let's just fucking have 3 mass shootings in a day. The El Paso shooting was in a district belonging to what's one of the Democratic presidential contenders?
Beto
from Texas. It happened within that fucking district. It's a distraction, man. Whoever is in control of these MK Ultra slaves, or these sleeper cells, just said, "Hey, we gotta go ahead and activate a few because they're getting wise to the Jeffrey Epstein shit." There's always a distraction. That's what I was asking myself. Is like, what the fuck is going on elsewhere when this is happening? Because this is that's a big time news cycle.
Well, yeah, we need to speak about Epstein.
Yeah, we did that. We talked about Epstein. Was it last week or the week before?
Well, he almost died.
I mean, he's in jail now. They haven't no real news has come out until the trial comes. And once the trial comes, it'll pick up again. Well, he'll probably be dead,
There was stuff about his island. This freaky building that he built on his island.
The temple, yeah.
Did you see that?
There's like tunnels beneath it. It's creepy. The shootings, the pants don't match. You have the manifesto, which I read this week from a Yale or Harvard professor that said that this dude did not write that manifesto. Somebody who's 21 years old does not write. And wasn't the kid autistic?
Right.
I read another story saying that his doctor said like he couldn't even hardly type or write because of, being on the spectrum. There's just so many weird things. The Dayton one, there's an obituary. I'm looking at this kid's obituary. Connor Betts of Sheffield passed away suddenly Wednesday, February 19th, 2014. How the fuck is he carrying out a shooting? I mean, what the fuck? And
again, coming to motivation, I see this more likely as, who would benefit from changing the story? Just to distract for the Epstein, or are the gun lobby people trying to drum up the people that think it's fake?
Yeah.
And all they have to do is put out a couple of videos of some people saying, oh, there was 4 shooters.
Yeah.
Oh, it's this. To me, that seems more likely and more credible than the fact that was faked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a real
think
winner. That fucking gun lobby. They're the winner. And they know there's a lot of people that, with these websites and theory, boom, all they got to do is start dripping some shit out there.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to tell who's fucking with us, and it could be either way.
They want the guns. I don't think there's any they want the guns. They're coming. They want our guns, man.
Yeah.
I don't think you can say anything else.
Our fucking government, we only have a few more minutes, but, about, I think it's about 70% of the population wants to change the gun laws. Even NRA members.
I think it's even higher
even
than
Republicans.
That.
They all want to change the gun laws, but we can't get them passed. And this is the biggest problem with our fucking government is the money in there. Is the money corrupts everything and greed, and it's not what the people want. 70% of the people for 20 years now, we can't get even the slightest gun law change.
Nope.
And nobody wants to take everybody's friggin' gun away. We just want some reasonable background checks.
That's all.
and get these major assault weapons off the street. But we just can't do it.
You mentioned greed. What is that a characteristic of? The reptilian brain.
Now, do I
Everybody
have the
does.
R
We all do.
complex?
It's one of the earliest forming stages of our brain. It's the oldest part of the brain. Yeah.
So wait, Nick. Well, Nick, you're not a reptile?
No, every human being has every Homo sapien has
I'm a reptile,
reptilian brain. You have a reptilian brain.
Do you, Nick?
Yeah, I have a reptilian brain.
Yeah, you gotta.
All right, guys, listen. We got to wrap it up. Thanks for hanging with us.
This has been brought to you by the Huggies. You are all my children. On the boat. I am Professor.
Making
Here I
money.
am. There I go. I bring Ted Temple in and I say, hey, sit the fuck down, Chad. I'm going to take a bet from you. And then I go, he says, fuck you. And I say, fuck you too, Chad.
Got a boat.
Tom
Got a
Brokaw.
vote. On a boat. Make them swim. In the water. Fire back. Pop, pop, pop. Got your back. Take it back. Back in time. Time machine. Time machine. Time machine. Time machine. Tie my shoes on the boat. Take a swim in the water. On the boat. Make it vote. Get your name. Put it in the hat. Got a cat. On a boat. On a boat. Make you wanna vote.
I'm on a motherfucking boat. All I do is fucking float. Pull her right there to the dock. Park it right by the yacht. She be high off the dope. Dancing naked on the boat. Burberry my coat. This that lean, not no coke. Take the boat to the water so clear can see the bottom. This here right here, not drama. Ayy, chillin' my pajamas. Only 14 hours in Miami on a boat. Chillin' with some model bitches, yeah for sure. Had a bottle on me, smoking on some dope. Had my niggas lay with me, we was turning up for show. Ride out with your bitch all in the late night. Took her to the dock, just to see the yachts. Then I got on my nigga on the boat. Yeah, she ride my way, yeah, nice and slow. Got drunk on a boat, turn up with my little bro. Like I said, Mike, yeah, I know you hear me though. We be on the lit, late night turn it on a boat. Like I said, I was in Miami on a